Welcome one, welcome all to episode 193 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Sunday, September 3rd, 2023. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost. Normally, I am joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logan, but subbing in today, we are fortunate to have Mr. Badbit, host of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. In this episode, we discuss Starfield's arrival and the review discussion controversy that comes with it. Xbox has a new director of partnerships in Japan, and subscription prices are going up. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Joseph Moran, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. You ripped me away from Starfield, you son of a gun.
I apologize, but I appreciate you. Logan's internet out, and they're being real slow to fix it because it's a holiday weekend. I hate it for him because he's got 24 hours in Starfield. Yeah. Like he was ready.
Oh, he's been in. Mm-hmm. Which like Labor Day isn't a holiday, you know? It's like, do you have off on Labor Day, Luke?
I do have off on Labor Day.
Okay, I guess it counts.
And a lot of states will start school after Labor Day. That's like their thing.
Yeah.
We started last week, and I've been doing work days and stuff beforehand. But, you know, either way, I hate it for them because we got our code. We did get a code provided to us, but it came in like a few hours before early access. He was excited because he took off the whole Friday. So he got to start playing and go. He's 24 hours in plus at this point, whereas I'm only 4 hours in. Maybe no, 6 to 8 hours in.
I'd say you've been playing more than me. Yeah.
Lots to say. You know, but we like to start the show with words of kindness. Those who have made our gaming weeks better. Joseph Moran, I invite you. Who's made your gaming week better?
You know what? Every time we talk about this company, it's always like, you know, the good old days, but like they're always like the enemy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I want to shout out GameStop for a second. Oh. Now you go, how did GameStop make my gaming life better? Well, there was an excellent trade-in offer, and I got me a Spider-Man PS5 shout out. For like under like $300. So like it. And then I was like, I'm also getting Starfield on top of that. I got the premium edition. Look at this beautiful steel bookcase.
Oh, I know. Same. It's really pretty. It is really pretty.
And then, you know, the employee came up to me. He's like, there's only one of these that we have. Mm-hmm. So they're like, this is the only one. Like, you're the only person that pre-ordered at the store. And, you know, so like if someone came in, like, ooh-wee, sucks to be them. Mm-hmm. And he's like, now we have a whole bunch of these things in here. Look at this. And he's like, I don't know if these are for the employees or not. Now, for audio listeners, this is a Starfield lanyard.
Did you get two?
No, I only got one. So he's just like, I don't know if I can give this lanyard or the pin away. Let me get the pin. It's right behind me.
I'll tell you right now, listeners, I want that lanyard.
So he's like, and this pin, it's actually a really nice pin. And he's like, I don't know if I can give it away, but he's like, I have no interest. And so you can have mine. And he just gave me the lanyard as well as the pin. And then I want to shout out our good friend Kevin Ainsworth.
Yep, love him.
Okay.
We were actually on his show this past week.
Yeah, and I won his giveaway.
You did.
I won his giveaway so I could get Starfield early. Now, shout out to Kevin. He gave me $100 of like Xbox, you know, like credit to go out there and buy the $100 edition. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't know that I just thought it was like the premium edition of the game. Mm-hmm. So when I got that, I was like, ooh, this is too much. I kind of feel bad because I already have Game Pass. Like, you know, it's only $35 at the end of the day. So because of Kevin Ainsworth's generosity, I was able to give 2 more copies of the premium upgrade edition away, one to our good friend Suddy and one to our mutual friend Kevin, who's just all right.
Yeah,
and he makes the thumbnails.
Yeah, he does make good thumbnails. But yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a good feel good all around. And I am jealous because that I just bought a new lanyard for school and it just says Xbox on it. I really want that Starfield one.
I'm telling you, it's gonna go in my collection. I got a collection of these bad boys. It's gonna go right next to my Skyrim one.
It's beautiful. Like I shouldn't be this excited about a lanyard, but I'll tell you what, like I really am. Like I'm gonna have to go on Amazon or eBay for this one.
So if I die unexpectedly, is it the lanyard or the Spider-Man statue?
Spider-Man statue, because I've got
Okay,
Spider-Man
so.
2 statue coming.
Yeah.
Listeners, unironically, if Joe dies, I get his Spider-Man statue. He had a close call with COVID, and I wanted something to remember him by.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Rooting for the virus.
Pre-show. Hey, keep this PG-13, this guy.
What?
Jeez Louise.
I want to take a minute to give several shout outs, if you don't mind, because similar to you getting to give away some copies, our Patreon community really came together and supported one another. Matthew Kennedy, he was good enough to give me a Starfield code for upgrade, which went out to one of our patrons. Clint Combs did the same thing in our Discord. So that's 2 copies of Starfield Upgrade Edition that people are now playing Starfield ahead of official launch, right? Early access, but it's still the launch, which was really cool to see because they were just helping each other out. Hey, I've got an extra who,
Nice.
That was fun. Matt Valdez, he gifted me an extra copy of The Making of Karateka based on my interview that I have to give away. If anybody's interested in that and money's tight, please shoot me an email and then I'll just, distribute it. But if you're interested in The Making of Karateka, that's a really good piece of gaming history. Shoot me an email. I've got that extra code and happy to distribute it to someone who's interested. And then we were able to give away a copy of the new TMNT Dimension Shell Shock DLC, which is really good, by the way, not just as my fanboyism, because I love TMNT.
Yeah.
It's genuinely very good. And Anubis won that, and he's an amazing supporter of XCP. So it was give. I saw so much generosity in our community, and it reminded me, Joe, something that you and I work really hard to do is cultivate positivity in our community. No console wars, no actual vitriol. We don't tolerate that. And it was just cool seeing all the people being kind. And I watch your Discord from time to time, and it's the same thing. So it makes me really happy.
You do it a whole lot better though, because I got I got the premium edition physical, so I was just like, let me just hop in my Discord for a second. Let me just throw it out there. First person that gets it. Good luck to you all.
Yeah. But I love the good vibes, right? Tentpole titles on social can sometimes really cause people angst and frustration.
Oh, you don't think so? You think so?
Yeah, it's so frustrating. But when you surround yourself with the right people, everybody's just celebrating, and that's cool. That's cool. Well, I want to do a quick bit of housekeeping and our Patreon pitch. If you missed it, last week we put out an interview with Stephen Frost from Digital Eclipse about the making of Karateka, which is an incredible documentary, interactive documentary with prototypes and gameplay from Jordan Mechner, who created Prince of Persia. So it's a really neat bit of a gaming legacy there. The Shredder's Revenge DLC for Dimension Shellshock has been recorded and goes up this Wednesday at 6 a.m. So I hope you guys will check out that. And if schedules hold, I'll be talking to Brett Robbins of Immortals of Avium, which I'm looking forward to. If the schedule holds, you never know. Some things change and whatnot, but I'm looking forward to distributing that. And I've got a creator talk that I'm really excited to share, but she's in Australia, so we've been trying real hard to schedule. So,
crikey.
Yeah. If you are interested in supporting XEP over on Patreon, it helps keep the lights on and the content coming. And as you know, we like to shout out our tier 2 and 3 patrons. It means the absolute world, and we really appreciate you. I'm going to read these names. Joe, we often like to lip sync. So while I'm reading, your job is to lip sync this bad boy.
Gotcha.
And see if you can.
I just want you to know, what was the line? It keeps the
lights on and the content coming. It's original. It's all original. What do you mean? What's this bothering you? What do you mean?
No, you said to keep it PG-13, so.
Oh, yeah, keep it PG. Oh, you jerk. I was like, because I sort of ripped off that line from you. So I was like,
No. Just, gotta keep it PG-13.
Yeah, keep it PG.
It wouldn't be on my show, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. I get it. All right. Our tier 2 and 3 shout outs for the week are Robbie Bobby Miller, Silent Cypher, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenet, Rick Gaffney, Zach LeCoulter, Hafrican aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you guys for supporting XEP at tiers 2 and 3. We absolutely appreciate you. Look forward to tier 3 patrons getting your Xbox wrap up all about Starfield. Super excited for that one. Now, all that out of the way, Joseph Moran, there's been a lot of news this past week.
Oh boy,
a lot of news.
Yeah,
it's been good, and it's been, I think, interesting news, which I've really appreciated. I'd like to start first with Xbox's hiring of a new director of partnerships in Japan.
Okay.
Before we get to our Starfield discussion, because I think this is a really neat thing that they have done. Xbox hired, and I'm sure the pronunciation isn't fully accurate, but Mina Sato Kato or Mino Sato Kato. I don't know for sure, but she will be responsible for leading partnerships worldwide for Japanese publishers in Japan at Xbox, which I think is a really great hire for a couple reasons. First, she previously worked for Sony as the VP of mobile business for just about 8 years, right up until 2021, meaning that she has a number of contacts throughout Japan. She's well liked and established. She has a pedigree that people will respect. And if Xbox is continuing to try and build relationships in Japan, this is a good thing. I appreciate this, particularly given the work with Tango Gameworks and several other Japanese companies from Sega and Atlas to even now Square Enix, right? The new relationship Xbox has forged there. I think this is a really good sign. They are charging her with working with Japanese publishers at a global scale, and she expects this new role to be a new chapter in which she will be unlocking new experiences in the game industry, end quote. I'm excited by this. Did this hit you differently?
We're seeing Xbox legitimately try to make strides in Japan again. It seems like they've tried multiple different angles of how to like crack this nut, and it seems like now they're maybe finding their rhythm back in terms of like, regaining partnerships in Square Enix, strengthening those of that of like Sega, right? When Sega's just like, yeah, out of all of them, Xbox is our closest partner. Like they're great to work with. Those are things that you want to hear, at least the reassurance of if you're an Xbox gamer. When Phil comes out there and he's like, we're going to try our hardest to get, all the Final Fantasies back on the Xbox platform. That's really awesome to hear. I love Final Fantasy 16. Humble brag, I love it so much that I bought the special edition controller because I have a problem.
And I think you had Ben Starr on your show as well.
We had Ben Starr on the show. He does want to be in a Ben Studios game. Humble brag, he would love to be in Days Gone too. So like, there's just I have like all the memorabilia today.
You do. You're crushing it today.
So it's awesome to see Xbox go out there and go, let's try to get Final Fantasy VII Remake on here. Let's go out there and make these deals. And look, you need someone that has experience in this background, or in leadership roles to help drive the business forward. Look, I think there was a lot of hope for Xbox to make bigger ground than they're making in Japan right now, but I think this is how you get it rolling. You take some talent from, your competition and you start making those deals. Now, is it ever going to be like a, 50, 50, 40, 60 type of, never, but I think this is a way for them to hopefully increase their market share in the region for sure.
And yeah, I fully agree with you. And we've had on a number of people to XCP that are like former Xbox execs, and they talk about just how different the market and the relationships are in Japan from, say, like a European market or a North American market. And, I remember Lord Lanning talking about that and several others that we've had on the show. So it's, I think, good for Xbox to have a relationship pre-established with the person that's heading up their partnerships.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate, to your point, the continued building and kind of reintegration of the Japanese market to Xbox as a platform. I'm very curious to know if they're able to make a dent once their exclusives truly start hitting. Starfield, I think, kind of being the first one. Hi-Fi Rush probably did something, but it was a shadow drop and it's a niche title. I really want to see what Tango brings to the forefront next. And in short, Xbox, I think, is poised better than they ever have been to make a dent in that market.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's going to matter, right? But if cloud gaming and a director that's well established and actual studios in Japan like Tango and building relationships with Square Enix, Atlas, and several others, if that doesn't do it, nothing ever will.
Yeah.
At this point.
And I think that's Xbox's strategy, because like even like PlayStation exclusives for the most part, they do fine in Japan, but they don't like kill it by any means. So like PlayStation, for all intents and purposes, is a Western publisher at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have the foothold in Japan as they once did either. So like for Xbox, I think your plan is to grow the network in Japan, similar like how PlayStation's trying to do in Canada right now, right? So I think Tango is definitely something that an organization that Xbox wants to grow within, and get more teams out of, and then making those partnerships with Sega and with Square Enix, Game Pass deals with them, I think is going to be another big driver in adoption of Xboxes in Japan. So yeah, I think that's probably how they're probably assessing, what their options are there.
I think what I'm tangentially interested in is if this Activision Blizzard deal goes through, with the launch of Starfield followed by Forza, with we know they're going to be bringing in Final Fantasy Love at some point in early 2024, and in this press release, Kato stated that Xbox is going to be attending what is supposed to be the biggest Tokyo Game Show ever. Is there an announcement of some kind that continues to build? Because if you had some sort of, Final Fantasy VII's finally arriving or something like that, right? Next to ABK, next to the newly available console stuff, next to Starfield and Forza, like that's a really good holiday pitch for Xbox to make towards consumers.
And you could definitely put up a Final Fantasy VII remakes, title screen with an Xbox logo, even if it's like nowhere near ready yet. You could just be like, coming soon, Final Fantasy VII remake, and that will get fans excited. The only thing is like Xbox has to dish out the money to get those things, which it seems like they're willing to do. But like, yeah, Rebirth has to be on Game Pass, or sorry, remake has to be on Game Pass. Like that would get people's attention. Like the Final Fantasy catalog comes to Xbox in 2024, something like that. But yeah, I think them being there, having such a strong presence, is a good indicator that they are really eager to make a dent in the marketplace.
I hope so. And I hope it turns around, because we've seen Xbox do a lot of very consumer friendly things next to, and it's in our smaller stories, next to like PlayStation Plus just went up significantly. And truly, I don't think it's going to matter much, right? Like it's not a consumer friendly thing, but I don't think it's going to matter. And that's all due to first party catalog, right? Nintendo and PlayStation get away with a lot of things that Xbox will never get away with.
I think you said it a couple of times in our chats, and I agree with it. PlayStation is conditioning their fans to become more Nintendo-like. Nintendo gets to do some really weird and outrageous stuff from time to time. And they get away with it because they make Mario and Zelda and Kirby and all these games that mean so much to, so many people. So like they get to get away with making some decisions that aren't consumer focused. So yeah, no, I want to see the pendulums, shift. I'm a PlayStation guy, but like I want to see Xbox really come, in and start throwing punches with PlayStation and see them actually land. And I think, when we talk about Starfield, I think that's what we're about to start seeing. Hopefully.
I think Xbox at the beginning of this generation had some good hits. They landed some good blows on PlayStation with the acquisition of Bethesda, with the announcements of some of the games that were coming, but then like they missed the mark with Halo. They struggled with Redfall. There were some real tough
content delivery wasn't there, and then so people were like, yeah, no, like gifting stuff is great, all these like progressive things. Yeah, these are great, but where's the games? And again, I think we're gonna start seeing that cadence. So yeah.
I agree. And, Starfield did launch. Let's go ahead and transition over to that topic.
Yeah.
Starfield has launched to what I would call extremely impressive reviews. For context listeners, I am 6 to 8 hours in. I know I said at the top of the show. Joe, how many hours in are you?
I would like to say about 5 or 6.
Okay, so we are both early on, but in a review roundup, Destructoid and Gaming Bolt both giving it a 10 out of 10. VGC and Games Radar both 5 out of 5. Xbox Era 9.7, Gaming Nexus 9.5, Windows Central 4.5 out of 5. Shack News 9, Gaming Trend 9, Game Informer 8.5, PC Gamer 75 out of 100. IGN 7, GameSpot 7.
Oh, we hate them. Oh, gross.
Oh, we're going to talk about some media bias in a minute. IGN and GameSpot were both 7s.
Boo.
The Metacritic right now stands at 88. The OpenCritic 87. I'm fascinated by this because I will tease listeners for Xbox Wrap Up. Logan told me at this point in his gameplay, he agrees with the 7, which I do not at all. I'm firmly on an 8. Based on my very limited time, right? And I can hear Ains rolling his eyes. Just kidding. He doesn't listen to the show.
Oh, yeah, right. He doesn't listen. He does. He he needs hearing aids to listen.
Yep.
He's old. Get it, guys.
Before we talk about our experiences, seeing the reviews hit like this, I thought was pretty darn good. Where were you at?
I think this is first off, hey Xbox people, welcome to the 88 club, where all your exclusives just hit 88.
Yep.
No, this is actually, I think if you asked me a few weeks ago, I would be like, this is a 92. If you asked me, a week or two ago, I would say 85 to 88, and that's exactly where it's hit. So, like, to me, I think this is a good barometer if someone is taking a quick glance to see, is this game possibly worth my time? The answer is a resounding yes.
I totally agree. I was not surprised to see kind of upper 80s in terms of Meta and OpenCritic, which I think are barometers, not end all be all. No one should be dying on a hill over a Metacritic score. That's dumb. And if you're going to disagree with the review, you should listen to the review and have played it yourself. Just want to throw that out there.
Just read it.
Yeah.
Least you could do is read it.
Yeah. Maybe know what's in there.
Yep.
Fully agree. I've watched a lot of people go after Dan Stapleton.
Yeah. I love when one person's like, why did you even review it? He's like, well, if you read the first paragraph, you would know why I wanted to review this game.
Yep.
It's like, it's right there. You didn't read it. You're just sensitive.
Yep.
Man, the discourse around this game, Luke, been interesting.
It has
been. Ever since lead up. And you talked about media bias. I would like to know kind of your thoughts of it all.
So I've said this on a couple shows. I think for a lot of websites that no longer employ journalists, but there's this weird kind of in between content creator who they need to be inflammatory to appease algorithms. That's part of it. If you're a content creator and that's your sole source of income, you need to be commenting on the latest thing, commenting on the most popular thing. And if there's something controversial, you need an input on that controversial topic. That's for content creators. Full journalists are, in theory, separate from their marketing departments, but ad funded. Like they make their money. Usually salaried or commissioned, but from ads that run on their sites. And there's this weird nebulous in between that a lot of sites kind of occupy. Do I think there is a media bias, like a mass conspiracy against Xbox? Not at all. Do I think that PlayStation has had more games worth continuous spotlights and discussion? Yes. Thus, a lot of content creators and guide write-ups will be about PlayStation games, which means the conversation is a lot more about PlayStation. So I think that happens, and that's sometimes confused for media bias. But no, if nobody's interested in a guide on Redfall, they're not going to keep working on it. They're going to keep working on their Ragnarok 2 guide or Ragnarok guide or whatever. It has been a slew of unfortunate events for IGN specifically, given, and Logan broke this down on last week's episode for anyone that's listening and missed last week's episode. He broke down what had happened, but IGN has consistently mislabeled titles to not include Xbox. And that was due to their missing an engineer. Basically, they're hiring for an engineer, a position they're trying to fill.
Yeah.
And this happens to thousands of games daily, as the systems don't talk all the time as far as like
Sure.
what's going on. And it has been unfortunate because if you have a community that's targeting and looking for something, they're going to find it, but they didn't find that Nintendo wasn't listed on some stuff, or that PlayStation wasn't listed here then, or Android, etc. So it's frustrating because next to all the other stuff, it does start to look bad and it does raise eyebrows. The 7 from IGN and the 7 from GameSpot is significantly lower than the rest of the reviews. Does that mean bias? No. Does it mean the reviewer had some qualms that mattered more to them than the others? Yes. Are the 7s an outlier? Yes. I don't advise anybody losing their mind. Pick the reviewers that match your interests and tastes. At my limited time, I'm feeling like this is much better than a 7. Much better than a 7, despite some serious qualms that I have with it. But I don't see media bias per se. But it is an unfortunate and awkward trend to watch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm trying
How
not to
can
wear
I
the
say?
tinfoil hat, or at least not appear
No,
to.
no. I think you really hit it on the head, because I think what the problem with game coverage in a whole, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're writing stuff down, is, you're right. You have to contend with being a content creator
Mm-hmm.
and that this idea of content creation,
Mm-hmm.
and then juggle it with being a personality,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's really difficult to do. And I see a lot of IGN folks trying to juggle between the two. And you're right. Look, I know a lot of folks that work at IGN. They're all swell folks of whom I've met,
Mm-hmm.
but they aren't, most of them are not like they didn't go to college for journalism, right? Or, maybe they took a 101 class.
Mm-hmm.
This is not their, I would say, their typical thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I take a look at like IGN and how they've transformed over the years, they're not about reportive like journalism, right? Like that's actually more towards like the VGC side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not breaking the news; they're covering the news as it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like, oh, games
Games
industry
industry.
wrote this, right?
Yeah.
VGC wrote that. It's IGN's way of staying out of the crosshairs
Mm-hmm.
of an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a Nintendo, because the last thing you want to do is alienate a partner that is willing to give you money for exclusive content.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you may be IGN and you're the biggest platform ever, but if you offend, let's just say, for example, Xbox, well, then Microsoft isn't going to come around with a giant check or opportunity for millions of clicks
Mm-hmm.
to get an exclusive piece. So you're seeing the real problem is a lot of these sites are dancing around topics
Mm-hmm.
because they are afraid to step on toes. So you really have to think about it. Why would, in Dan Stapleton's right mind, write a hit piece on Starfield, and possibly alienate a large section of a community to never click on the site again? That's just not going to happen. Or alienate a partner. So like he is a reviewer.
Mm-hmm.
He is if I'm not mistaken, he's the head editor of them.
Yep.
He knows what it takes to make a good review and what's a hit piece. And his review, is what I've actually read, isn't that. And in fact, I think I align a lot with a lot of the issues that he's found in his game, even just with my short playthrough. So like, I could sit back and go, though, where I'm at, I don't know the number yet, but I don't think it's this.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see what he's saying and going, okay, mileage is going to vary to folks.
100% agree. We actually had Dan on episode 128 of XEP to talk about paid reviews, ad revenues on sites, and the balance between them. In listening to Dan's review, I heard a lot of things that early on I am frustrated by. I'm in full agreement with. I think when it comes down to if you've listened to critique from any outlet, how much does that critique bother your overall experience? And that's going to be different per player, per consumer. But you're right. It doesn't make sense to alienate an entire either fan base or financial partner, when you need, financial elements like to fund your site. I do think it looks bad consistently when you're missing stuff, and like whether you have an engineer or you're missing somebody, you need to hire, whatever it is, it still looks bad. There's an optics problem. But the review score, outlier though it may be, if you've not listened and considered it, so it goes. And we've seen plenty of games that review poorly and sell amazing, and sell terribly that review
Madden's Open Critic is like at a 67. That game's gonna sell millions of copies, right? Millions of people are going to enjoy it. It doesn't, we hang too much on this number, and we all say we should get away from it. But the truth is, if the number ain't there, you're not clicking on it. Again, it's that balance,
right?
Right.
There is also, I like what you said, and I want to get to Starfield for real in a minute, but the balance of being a personality versus a journalist or news editor or something is difficult. And I've seen several what we thought were journalists really push into the personality element on their own personal channels, or use their platform to push personal narratives. And that's been a little bit different and frustrating. But I think it's
been very frustrating to watch.
It's been the landscape, right?
Yeah.
So, I like to stick to gamesindustry.biz or love him or hate him. Jason Schreier tends to report on things. People like that tend to do right. And so I appreciate the balance, but I feel like I'm constantly having to juggle who said what and why and how, and do I care? Do I have time?
And I think in the last month, I've turned that side off. Like, I bet there's been multiple controversies leading up to Starfield. I couldn't be bothered to care. At this point, it's just flaming a console war, and I just can't be bothered with it. And you have a lot of people that are really hanging on to this being, well, Xbox told me this is going to be the perfect game, so this is a perfect game. Anything lower is an attack on me, my person. And that is a huge problem. When I want to give a shout out to Dan Stapleton, because the man has been getting constant, crap for the last few days. And I saw someone tell him that he was being unprofessional with his responses to them. And I'm like, understand how entitled you are as an individual for telling this man how unprofessional he is, because he's telling you didn't read his interview, his review, which you obviously didn't.
Right.
And just to attack him because he gave a score of a game that you haven't played yet, a score that you thought would have been higher. Like, relax, settle down. If this is your number one problem in life, your life's either really sad or really great. Like, people have to settle down. One of my favorite games of all time is Ghost of Tsushima. It's an 82. You want to know why I know it's an 82? To make this point, I looked it up on the Metacritic. I don't care what IGN rated this game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So, that's what we have to really, we give too much strength to these numbers, and we give too much oxygen to the inflammatory people that make the number such a big deal, that we're losing the sight of it. And Dan's being a good soldier for sticking it out and standing his ground and telling people to F off when they need to.
Yeah. You don't get to make death threats, hear the response, and then be like, well, you're unprofessional. No.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you ever worked retail, that entitled employee that comes up to you after, you're an hour till close and starts giving you issue because, I don't know, their PS3 doesn't work and they want you to fix it, and you're like, I don't fix that. I'm just the clerk at GameStop guy.
Right.
It's just like, it's really, you don't get to be inflammatory and then just walk away. I don't like that. Yeah.
Contextually, and then I want to get to Edward's question, and then we'll talk about Starfield.
All right. Fair.
Hi-Fi Rush hit an 87.
Yep.
That game to me is amazing. Age of Empires 2 had an 86 on Metacritic. That game's considered to be amazing. Ghostwire Tokyo was an 82. Minecraft Legends was a 71. Redfall a 56. Starfield an 88. Age of Empires 4 doesn't have a Metacritic rating yet, and then they have Forza later this year. With the exception of Redfall, I think those are all good to great scores.
Yeah.
Good to great.
Good to great. That's a great track record to have.
Yeah.
Most of these games, again, Redfall the outlier, good to great.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Solid. Yep. I think the only complaint I think anyone could truly levy is that a lot of them are niche titles.
Sure.
That's fair.
But you know what? I would say that a year ago, Xbox was putting out no titles.
Yep.
So you have you got half a dozen right there, and most of them are great.
Yep.
It's like they're becoming the publisher that you want them to be. Some growing pains here or there, but you're seeing them start to make the games that you really want them to make.
Agreed.
Nice.
Edward Varnell wrote in over on Twitter and said, though some people hate math, why do you think the average of scores for games bring out a different attitude of a person? The same arguments and discussion happen with game review ratings. Do you think it's hard to write one with fairness? As far as reviews are opinions. They're meant to be opinions. That's okay. Fairness and objectivity are not the same thing. And fairness depends on someone's culture, background, where they're from, what they're exposed to. That's a pretty common misconception. We study that a lot in schools, like what fair and equal and equity, the difference between those three things. Mm-hmm. But I think the bigger problem is how people react to it. And I think numbers can bring out the best and worst in people because, and Joe, stick with me on this, if I really want to like something and I really like something and then I see a review or number justifying it, I feel like my purchase is worthwhile. I want to feel like I did the right thing. Yeah. If I'm the outlier or frustrated and I'm the guy that liked Anthem, that enjoyed Avengers, Crackdown, then I feel like I'm under attack because people didn't like that thing.
It's all about validation.
Yeah.
For example, you want to feel valid in spending your finite time the way you're doing it correctly. Mm-hmm. Though there is no correct path, you want to feel like, and I'm sorry that you might be hearing some hooting and hollering. Though there is no correct path, mm-hmm. You want to feel like you made the right choice. So a great example to this is an IGN review mm-hmm. Of Ahsoka. Now, I love Ahsoka. First 3 episodes have been phenomenal to me. They're mm-hmm. everything that I want from a Star Wars and Star Wars Rebels fan. But this reviewer gave the show as a whole, or as of reviewing, a 2. Right? Yeah, like it's terrible, it's bad. I looked at that going, well, how could you look at the production value, take a look at the acting, the direction of it? You don't have to agree with all their overarching view is like you have to watch 5 seasons of Rebels to get the show, and that's a valid critique. Mm-hmm. But like that's an anchor to just the overall package that is sound. So I looked at that review going, well, I disagree with it in its entirety for the most part. Mm-hmm. Entirety, most part, whatever. For the most part, I disagreed with it, but I didn't feel the need to go out there and make that reviewer's life a living hell. Mm-hmm. I just know that when I look at a review from, let's just say an IGN, but more so when I look at a review from that reviewer in particular, I'm just not going to take what they say as gospel. I'm going to find a source that I tend to agree with, and I will hang my hat on going, yeah, this is my reviewer. So for example, for video games, I always go to SkillUp.
Same. Yeah.
That's my guy. So I love a good 30-minute dissertation of like a video game. I like it a lot. So for me, I just know that that's not the place to go. And I just move along with my day. I think a lot of people, really weigh reviews with the validation of a purchase or their time spent.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I think that answers Edward's question, and I'm in agreement.
You better be.
Oh my gosh, Joe. So, personal impressions of Starfield. I want to get to a couple of those. XEP was provided a code. Logan took advantage of that, so I ended up purchasing my upgrade to play with early access. And Joe, as he talked about earlier, he has early access as well.
Oh, Greg.
So jumping into this was very intimidating for me, Joe, because I am not an Elder Scrolls nor a Fallout fan.
Oh, really? You're neither?
Neither. Don't like that. These are not built for me. These are not my kinds of games. Like, I even considered starting Everspace 2 after finishing Immortals of Avium instead of Starfield. But there was something about that start screen that said to me, hey, I'm a quality game and I need to get in there. So I booted it up, and I really was kind of hit with this feeling, this vibe that this is something special. And I really like Starfield based on my 6 to 8 hours in the game right now. I'm quite pleased with my time. I've got some qualms, but I feel a sense of wonder and a sense of quality that isn't present in a lot of games. Did you feel that same like vibe?
Similar vibe. So like I got excited for Starfield literally a few weeks ago. Like legitimately like, okay, I cannot wait to get into this game simply because someone made the Millennium Falcon. Mm-hmm. That's how easy I am to sway. And so getting into this game, I'm hit with, first and foremost, this is for a Bethesda title. There's so little Bethesda jank or bugs.
Yeah.
Like the game is polished. I've only encountered one crash and one weird thing when I opened the door. Everything just like exploded around me, which was funny. And the crash was due to quick resume. And that was just, again, one little instance. So like overall, the game is pretty flawless. Again, I'm 5 hours in. This is all very surface level stuff, but I'm finding myself enjoying it despite some issues that I'm having with the game. So like there are issues. I don't think this game is perfect by no means, but this definitely feels like one of Bethesda's finer products for sure.
It's intimidating to say the least. Yes. Not just because I'm outside of the genre, but because this game is big, and it's real big, and there are a lot of systems that are intermingling right away. The elephant in the room is how frustrating it is to be onboarded into those systems in the opening hours. And according to the reviews that I've read and heard, that gets easier as you learn it.
Yeah.
But onboarding is tough because there's a lot to manage in there, and the menu system very difficult to navigate as you're being onboarded. My hope rather though, Joe, is that it's kind of like learning a new operating system when you get that first iPhone after being on Android or vice versa.
Yeah.
Once you get it, I think it's going to be there because I'm seeing a lot of fun gameplay. Did you get frustrated by menus as well?
Yeah, I think the menus are the I think the second biggest issue for me. There is a lot going on in this game. You're right. And I think in terms of onboarding, so for me, I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. In terms of like, I love Skyrim. I really enjoyed Oblivion. And I think Bethesda's best onboarding was Skyrim. I think it got you in the action relatively quickly. It told you everything you needed to know in 30 minutes and then just put you out there into the open world. In the other side of the other flip of the coin is I didn't like Fallout's onboarding. I always thought it was super long. It was kind of a slog for me. I just want to go out there. I want to kill stuff and, explore the wasteland. I just felt for some reason Fallout just didn't do it for me, especially 4. So that being said, with Starfield, I feel like there's a middle ground somewhere where they get you into the action fairly quickly. It's not as, for lack of better words, like cinematic as Skyrim. Like there's no like, Alduin coming down and like crashing a tower, but like it teaches you what the true basics fairly quickly. It gives you a cute little shootout. It gives you a stronghold to like invade, and then you're somewhat off to the open world. It's still teaching you things along the way. But the thing that I feel that is cumbersome is the menu system. I just want to switch my guns easy.
Yes.
and like the weapon wheel just ain't it for me. You know, going into the menu and like selecting favorite and then putting them there, like that's cute, but like just give me like a double X, right? Like double X tap and I got my secondary weapon. You know, the jump button is still Y. Why?
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 Jump should
Let me
never
change
be
it.
Y.
Never.
It should never be Y.
Never.
It should be A every time.
Yeah, there are some things in like the ship like navigation that I was very confused by, and that they just didn't tell me how it worked clearly, especially like ship self. I failed that mission so much.
Ship what?
Stealth, like not being detected, and even just how like
I've not seen that mission, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Weird.
It annoyed me. It annoyed me greatly.
Yeah, I'm ahead in time.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a problem for you.
Forza Motorsport coming out in October. Enjoy.
I've been playing it. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, like there's just some cumbersome issues with menus, but like at the end of the day, I'm like, that could be cleared up with maybe some mod support. That could be cleared up in a few like months or so. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. That like one of my biggest issues is that there's too many menus. You know what I mean? Like it is at the end of the day a pretty small complaint. My bigger complaint though, Luke, again, I think gunplay for Bethesda, this is the smoothest it's been. It feels great. I don't mind the 30 FPS. I got dumb eyes. I don't care if it's...
It took me about 10 minutes, and I found, much to my like atypical for me, playing in first person was a lot easier.
Yeah,
as far as frames per second, because I prefer a good third person.
Oh, do you?
First person feels like Starfield was meant for first person.
I feel like as a Bethesda title, I can't do third person. I like that they try, but if I'm in the ship, like I switch it between first and third. If I'm in a dogfight, it's third. If I'm like just flying around, it's first person.
Interesting.
But like the combat is like on the ground, it's fluid. It is very, again, it's a Bethesda title. So you're going to be like, okay, this feels like Fallout without the VATS so far. And that's what it feels like. Then when you get into the space combat, it very much has the VAT system in it, which is really cool. So like you get to pinpoint, target the ships that you want to like disable their engines. And like, I just boarded a guy and I thought that was the coolest damn thing ever. It's like, yeah, I could have exploded your ship, but I'm going to see you guys face to face and I'm going to end your lives. Like those moments are so much fun to me. Like the combat aerial and ground is a lot of fun. The issue, though, that I have, Luke, there is a surprising amount of loading screens.
I noticed that as well. It's funny, though, to hear your opening hours are very different than mine. I've been on the ground and in caverns and taking out spacers to try and clear out some areas. So I'm a space pilot. That was the path that I got or chose. But I've been on the ground far more than not.
Really? Yeah, no, I chose outlaw. And see, like, this is really cool. Like, it's these moments that are really cool. So, like, I'm just an outlaw and I'm just like trying to hunt people down. I'm trying to do as much as like the mainline stuff as I can, because I heard like once you push through that, you get some of the main stuff out of the way, the world's really open up. But the problem that I find is similar to Fallout, and luckily, we got another Forza car coming. Luckily, it's not as bad because we're on a Series S and the loading screens are like 5 seconds. But like I enter a larger building, like a facility of some sort, and I'm hit with a loading screen.
Yeah,
right?
It's strange because like I'll go into an elevator.
Yeah,
and there's no animation for hitting the button going down. It's just Starfield logo, back out.
Right,
and that happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And then the most disappointing thing for me, I want to fly that ship all the time. Right. The one thing that I think No Man's Sky does such a good job of is like breaking out of the atmosphere into orbit or vice versa is one of the coolest like things you can do. Starfield unfortunately doesn't have that. So you jump into the orbit of a planet and then there are points of interest that you fast travel to. So you never see yourself breaking into the orbit. You can't like, from what I've seen so far, tested because the ship's pretty slow. You can't go around like the planet. It's kind of like what's in front of you. So it's kind of like faux space. It's not, it's just like a hub between your destinations, which to me is my biggest disappointment. I feel like this is I feel like I'm on a roller coaster ride. I'm out of one line to jump into another line, and it's a different theme, but like it doesn't feel connected.
This feels to me like 4 fantastic single player games that are pieced together.
Yes.
And there's no bridge between the pieces.
Yes.
You want to fly? Okay, we're going to load you into the flying game. You want to be a pirate? We're going to load you into the pirate game. You want to be like a gun shooter? We're going to load you into that. You want to be a diplomat? We're going to load you into that. And that's what it feels like. But that, I think, to any listener who hasn't gone hands-on or is on the fence, I think it's disingenuous because it sounds like we're complaining. These are minor gripes because the loading screens are very fast.
Very fast. And I gotta say, even though again, it is a disappointment of mine, it doesn't take away from the fact of when I'm on the ground, all the parts, though they may be disjointed from each other or separate, whatever, they all feel great.
Yes, they do.
So it's the only thing is man, I would love some connective tissue for all of these things, but they all feel really great to do and take part of. So even my gripes come with caveats, which I think is a something good to have.
Big time. I noticed that just coming off of Immortals of Avium, which has a stunning use of Unreal Engine 5 and facial animation, jumping into this Bethesda game, I was expecting jank and blocky faces. Faces look pretty darn good for your main characters, and they're talking. The lips don't look way. I was worried because not having played a lot of Fallout or Elder Scrolls, people are always like the Bethesda jank's the worst, and clearly the year they took cleaned up a lot of the experiences.
Don't get me wrong, they still are kind of marionette like
a little bit, for sure.
It is again, it is still a Bethesda game, so I feel like that's kind of just a part of their DNA. And as for secondary characters go, for example, you're playing Jedi Survivor, there's a character you meet, you go, I'm not going to see them again just by their facial animations, or they're not going to be around in the story much longer. And here, for the most part, for what I've seen, I'm not staring at puddles for 15 minutes trying to look for problems. Most characters look similar to each other. So it looks like they're all using that, creator tool to map out each individual character, which I like a lot.
I've heard, and I agree with, and I feel this, and I see this. If The Expanse had a AAA game, it would be very similar to this, and I feel that. Yeah, and I like it.
I put this out on Twitter.
It's called X.
Sorry, Platform X, and I posted something where there is no studio that can make a shotgun feel as good in first person than Bethesda. Have you got your hands on the double barrel shotgun yet?
No.
God damn, dude, it's so much fun.
Is it?
It's so, you just feel the oomph behind it. I love the little animations towards each of the guns also help dramatically. Just the sense of badassery, or just tactile nature. The first pistol you use, it feels good, but it also feels a little dainty. And when you reload it, it just the back just pops off as a cute neat little animation. But man, the weapon animations in this game are a lot of they don't get old yet. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm loving this game. I wouldn't, let's call this a segment. Let's annoy our friend Ains. I don't see this game being that 9.5, 10 out of 10 yet. But to me, I think I'm right there with you. I'm this is a great experience. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I actually do like that they haven't they weren't out up front with the story, because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, and this feels like it's Indiana Jones.
It does kind of feel like that
in space. So I'm just Indiana, yeah, whatever. It feels like your space Indiana, and the whole story and how it's starting to reveal itself in the characters that belong to the constellation. I thought the constellation was kind of lame in the beginning, and as I was like, I really hope they add some like much needed backstory. Bam, the character's like, here's some much needed backstory of what we are, and it's just like, oh, I'm an adventurer before I took an arrow to the knee. This is what this is. So I'm, again, PlayStation guy. I'm really enjoying my time with Starfield. The game that I constantly, and I can't help put it side by side with, is like Cyberpunk.
I think there are a lot of comparisons here.
Yeah. Cyberpunk's action feels a whole lot better, but this game is standing competently. I think they took some notes. This is a really fun time.
I think Cyberpunk post like 1.5 update really set a standard. Yeah. And it feels like the delay for Starfield maybe pushed Starfield into close to that realm. For my character, I joined something called the Vanguard early on.
Yes.
And it takes you through an orientation hall, which normally I skip that stuff. I was like, no, I need to hear this. And
I skipped the orientation hall.
Did you? So I stopped and I went and listened. And because I'm not the listener usually, right? I want to go shoot stuff. But listening gave me some cool backstory. And then the enemy that it sounds like we're going to be dealing with for the main story was so cool, and an homage to classic sci-fi.
Yeah.
Plus horror. I was like, let's go. Like, I'm vibing with this. And that's just a fraction of this game, which I dig. Like, there were parts of it, of a mission I did, that were very much a horror game. And I was like, oh, like I'm hearing something.
We're going here.
Yeah. And then jump out. I can go negotiate with pirates, or jump in my ship and board people. And I've done very little ship combat, and that's what I'm most excited about. But I'm having fun. And so I look forward to a Cyberpunk level update that cleans some of the menus and addresses some community concerns, but it's not nearly the state that Cyberpunk was when it launched. No. This is a great video game now. And I think people should definitely, like, if you're on Game Pass, 100%.
This is it.
Yeah. No doubt about it. This game deserves the sales. I saw Steam was like 200,000 concurrent.
It hit number 7 on the box charts of the UK.
The premium edition did.
The premium upgrade.
Premium or update.
Yeah.
Upgrade was only for Game Pass users. Premium edition is for everybody that's on PC.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because that means, they just $2 million just boop, right there.
Boop.
You know?
Yeah. It's awesome, again, as a PlayStation fan, to have a game from Xbox that's unequivocally great, and there's no caveats, right? Like, this is just a great game. Like Halo Infinite was great, but the delivery system was so flawed,
right?
And it hurt that game's first year or two, right? So like, to see this game come out the gate swinging, this is a must play. And if you have Game Pass, you literally have no excuse. Yeah, you're talking about it even more, man. I just want to jump in. Why am I here?
Same. I get it. Blame Logan.
Also,
and the internet.
Vasco. Vasco's my boy.
I haven't seen Vasco in hours. I don't know why. I've got Sarah following me around.
Yeah, Sarah's a cutie. Respectfully.
Yep.
But Vasco, first off, undying loyalty, gives you funny little quips. He is a great combination of R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Yeah.
Go back to the lodge, pick him up as your partner. Sarah can wait.
Sarah, okay, so all right, that's what's happened, because I'm kind of like sick of Sarah, even though she's cute. But like,
respectfully,
Vasco's cool. Like, I want the robot following me.
He's my boy.
Yeah. Let's see here. Volition is shutting down.
Oh boy.
Did you see this?
I've seen this. I've heard about this.
So, pretty big news. Embracer Group is closing Volition Studio. Volition, very well known. Their most recent game, of course, was Saints Row, which just launched onto PlayStation Plus. Kind of a bummer. The team is now going to be under Gearbox Entertainment. Volition, Red Faction is part of their legacy. This was a bummer to see, and it really kind of sees that, like, whatever that deal was with, I believe, Saudi Arabia was what Kevin Ainsworth was telling me. That deal really did a huge blow to Embracer, who was buying up everything. And I am really bummed to see this because I don't want studios closing. We saw Mimimi
Yeah.
Games shut down. It's a real small indie studio, but they made that Shadow Gambit pirate title that we had them on the show, and it's well reviewed. It launched the Desperados 3 people, Joe. It
Yeah.
launched the 9.0s and up, and they're shutting down. To see Volition shutting down is kind of
Sucks.
like one of those legacy studios. It sucks, man.
Yeah. I love Saints Row 1, 2. I think they lost the horse a little bit with 3, but like it sucks to see them go down. It's why I get scared when we talk about like the the consolidation of the marketplace. It's like, sure, the market's still growing and there'll be new leaders and whatnot, but like, call me just the old man that doesn't like change. When I see studios that I grew up with closing down, that really sucks.
But see, I don't think it's a consolidation thing because I look at Ascendant Studios, which made Immortals of Avium.
Sure.
EA helped them publish, but like they're the thing. The game didn't sell well. Obviously, they picked a shit window to release it in, which sucks because that game's good. But and then you see Mimimi Games putting out 9.0s and better. They're shutting down. Like, I don't think it's a consolidation problem. I think it's the market's real big and a lot of games are too cheap to enter. And if people have to pay something, they get upset, which I think is annoying. Like, you shouldn't be entitled to the best of the best for free everywhere.
Right. I think it's the market's becoming, you're right. Part of it is the market is becoming so big. There's so many choices out there, which you're right. Like, let's take a look at like Immortals of Avium. I think it's a really fun game, right? You're launching a week before Cyberpunk, or sorry, Starfield. So I got Cyberpunk in the brain. So like that is just, it's a bad window.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Saints Row launched, it was rough and they took the time to fix it, but it wasn't where it needed to be at launch. In the game didn't have a game like The Witcher to fall back on. Right. That's why I was thinking of Cyberpunk.
Right.
So like, Cyberpunk launched rough, people wanted refunds, all that jazz, but like CD was able to put the time in to fix that game because they knew there's a great game in there, and The Witcher sales continue to keep that company afloat and then some. So, I saw someone go, it sucks. I think it's Zermina Khan say something along the lines of, it sucks where the industry is, where you need a big hit after big hit to stay solvent.
Afloat. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I get concerned about consolidation is like, look at Embracer, 100 plus, 30 plus, studios. It was a weird plan for them to start gobbling these studios all up. And then now we're starting to see the fallout of which is like, you got some people at Gearbox losing their jobs. You got people at Volition losing their jobs. It's just, and just really sad to see.
It is. So here's hoping. Shout out to Volition and Mimimi and every other studio that's affected at any given time. We appreciate all of you bringing games to gamers. Sincerely. And I'll take a moment to shout out 61 Indie, Joe, because they, like XEP, a lot of spotlight on indie stuff. And I hope that people check them out. So some smaller topics. We were going to talk about the Skull and Bones beta that Logan participated in. I think it was a closed beta, unless he was under embargo, which I don't think he was. I think that was interesting because that game is somehow still a thing. Weird. The Series S 1 terabyte is out now for $350. The standard Series S is still $300, but expect those to go on sale for Black Friday. I like that black Series S, by the way.
It looks nice.
It does look nice.
It's like, I have no reason to want this, but I do.
Yeah.
Like, I want that, and like what's like the cool little like battery attachment with the screen. I think it's called like UpSpec or something like that.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
I want that. I want that for work really bad.
And quick aside, Starfield runs great on a Series S.
Yeah.
It runs really well on a Series S, which it continuously reminds me, next to all the Baldur's Gate frustrations, it's like, no, Baldur's Gate is a small team, and Bethesda is not, and there's an element, like, and Logan says this a lot, why can Diablo do it? Baldur's Gate couldn't, whatever. Teams, abilities, whatever. But I continue to say that the Series S, for any limitations it has, is still a great way to play your video games.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Hot take. I like the Series S a lot.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks I should have. A part of me thinks I should have got that instead of the X, to be honest.
Are you playing on an OLED?
I am playing on an OLED.
then Series X is the way to go. But
Yeah.
if you're not playing on OLED, Series S all day.
Again, real talk. I know we're probably going long in the show, but I've been thinking about picking up a Series S because my work's Wi-Fi isn't good enough to stream, and like after 8 o'clock, there's nothing to like, legitimately nothing to do.
Don't you have a Steam Deck?
I do have a Steam Deck, but again, I can't like play Starfield. Well, can I play Starfield on the?
Yeah.
Is it Steam Deck?
Deck verified? I believe so, but I don't quote me.
Oh!
Don't quote me. Don't
Okay.
quote me, because I know
right.
some listener might be, Luke,
Right.
you're crazy. Not my realm, but I remember people saying something about it. But
I'm gonna look this up right now.
yeah, look it up, because people are playing on their ROG Ally, so I'd have to think it's ready for the deck as well.
Yeah, but that's like, because like the ROG is a different beast. I would never
Is
get
it?
a ROG. From what I understand, it eats like SD cards. But let me just see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
While you're looking that up, we had a great question come from Famous Seamus, who said, by the way, he's the most famous Seamus that I've ever met personally.
Same, dude. Likewise.
That's crazy. Look at that go.
Yeah.
He says, with the SAG-AFTRA strike likely expanding to include video game companies like EA, Activision, Insomniac, Epic, and many others that use studios like VoiceWork Production and Formosa Interactive, how big of an impact do you think the strike will have on the video game industry? Significant, Famous Seamus. I think it'll have a big impact. We are seeing more than ever how important voice actors are to the gaming experience, particularly given how immersive games are expected to be out the gate. We've had a bunch of voice actors on this show. Jeff Steitzer and then Agent 47 was on here. Sissy Jones was on here. She's in Starfield. Joe just had Ben Starr on. We've had Star-Lord on.
Voice of Mario.
Voice of Mario. It's a me,
Mario.
Voice actors are hugely important to the narrative experience for a video game, and I am all for them getting what they deserve. When we had Gritsia Bajos on, she talked a lot about how after voice work for a day, she has to rest, and she has to sincerely take the time to rest her voice. And when we had Erica Lindbeck on, she talked about how she could not do some of the voice work for several days after a tough recording schedule, and that meant her income was going to be impacted. Yeah. So I'm all for them getting living wages no matter what, because we tend to think of actors as like the Ben Afflecks, the Matt Damons, and the people that are making multi-million dollars. But
Damon.
How many shows are there that are just kept afloat by regulars that are just end to end? So I believe fully the gaming industry will be impacted, and I would expect the majority of studios to be supportive of their actors.
I believe this crazy theory, Luke. All right, and I hate to get political, but if you work a 40-hour job, you should be able to live your life. You shouldn't have to take second jobs. I work with a lot of awesome folks that have to work 2-3 jobs just to keep bread on the table. I don't think that should be the case. I think one should always be enough. And when it comes to actors, yeah, they're incredibly talented. I can't do an ounce of what they're able to do. This is going to have huge ripple effects in the industry. It's going to enable unionization that we've seen in games unlike anything before, because what these actors are going to want are residuals from the game sales and game streaming. And currently devs don't get those residuals. They get like bonuses if the game does well at launch, but after that game's launch, it's not yours anymore. So you're going to see devs, the fallout of it, you're going to see devs going, hey, where's my residual check for game X, Y, and Z here? Why does, Ben Starr get one, but I don't? And that's what you're going to see the fallout being. It has huge ripple effects. And if I'm in the games industry right now, I'm very scared because unlike, film and TV, you don't have that much leeway if you're making a huge AAA game, for example, Ghost of Tsushima 2, right? That game's being worked on all of a sudden, I don't have any voice actors. That production, you would think, just kind of halts. So they're under far more pressure to get these games out on time than ever before. So you're going to see workers are going to have way more power, or realize they have way more power than they think they do.
Fully agree. I think more and more, like when I look at Disney's Bob Iger getting frustrated with the actors, I'm like, shut up, guy. You're making how much money? When I see Bobby Kodak's trash self making so much money, and then the voice actors or the developers don't, it's like the money is there.
Yep.
It just needs to be a little bit more equalized. And if anyone feels the need to storm the Capitol over that, I think Joe's setting up a meeting next week.
Right? Next week. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There
After Gary's dentist appointment, we're going to really take this country back.
Oh gosh. All right. Let's see.
Our shaman's got a bum knee though, so maybe after his
that's a deep cut,
therapy.
but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I know that joke.
Stand back, stand by. Gary's got a bum knee.
All right. Let's see. I have got I think that's going to be it for us this week. I've got several things to tell you guys before we exit out, but first, Joseph Moran, you came in a pinch, and I know I and Logan are grateful to you. Would you please let people know what's going on over at the Trophy Room and where to find you on socials?
What is going on? All right. Well, first and foremost, my name is Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit. You can hear me almost on a weekly basis talk trash about Luke Lohr over on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. You can even catch us the night before on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find us, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. If you rate us 5 stars on any podcast platform, share it to us at PS Trophy Room. You're entered to win a Spider-Man 2 DualSense controller. And now, as well, I'm going to announce it. The first time I'm announcing it. I have a second Spider-Man 2 PS5. Now, you might say, Joe, why is this? Why is this? Because we are going to be giving it away on Extra Life. Nice. So make sure you're following me at Mr. Badbit as more details come to light on how I could drop controllers. Was that the Final Fantasy one? Oops. Sorry, Kyle. How you can enter to win a PlayStation 5 Spidey console.
Dope.
So, yeah, man. All go to a good cause. I can't wait.
We need to talk. I need to help you out with that. As far as Extra Life goes, we'll talk.
Absolutely. We got plans.
Nice. Guys, you can, if you're so inclined to support XCP over on patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass, it would mean the absolute world. And I will tell you right now, if you are in the world of gaming and you need a community that is not going to attack any consoles and they're going to celebrate and be kind and be supportive, our Discord is just so welcoming and loving, and I could not be more proud of being a part of them.
They even accepted you, which is nuts.
Oh my gosh. Sincerely, if you need a place to hang, check out our patron Discord. It's genuinely quite special. And then, of course, if that's not something you're able to do and you wanted to support XCP, you can always rate 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. Go over, click like on the YouTube side, leave a comment. That really does seem to help the algorithms. And if you are interested in a copy of The Making of Karateka, I have one to give away. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to send one out because we want people to play and enjoy video games wherever they can. You can find me on the socials at InsipidGhost. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you, Joe, for joining me. Take care, everybody.